This AI video system changes user-generated content forever. And that's because for the first time in the AI video boom, we have full acting control over our AI influencers. We can make them sound like any influencer we want, have perfect body movements, and they can hold any product in any scene that we can possibly think of. And the craziest part is that this entire automation produces hyper-realistic videos for only $1. Here's a quick example.
Hey JB, can you send me a Red Bull? This video is sponsored by Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings, and so do I when I made my podcasts.
I don't know what I'm saying, but as you guys can see, this example is pretty crazy. And what you just saw is possible to do with any character that you can think of, from your favorite anime character to your favorite athlete to your favorite podcaster. And on school, I run my no-code academy of over 2,500 members where I drop all of my AI agents and the full tutorial. And so here you guys can see every single step broken down in perfect detail so that you guys can come in here, grab the blueprint, and actually get started and launch this WAN 2.2 Animate AI influencer by the time you're done watching. So without further ado though, let's get right into the full build. I want to break down the opportunity of this AI agent because there's 4 ways that you can monetize it, and there's one way that I'm actually monetizing it in real time. And so let's go through them one by one. The first massive opportunity that this AI influencer workflow has created for us is the ability to create personas that build their own personal brand. An example I want to give you guys is Viva Lelina. Now, this is an AI influencer based out of France that is absolutely dominating the AI fashion scene. And the way that they're generating revenue is by securing many sponsor deals with these fashion brands. And this AI influencer doesn't even exist. And it's just freaking nuts. Now, the second option that you guys have is YouTube long form or educational based content. So I make AI videos, right? But not every demographic watches my videos, even if they're interested in AI. If a girl wants to learn about AI, chances are they're going to listen to another girl. And so for me to then recreate this influencer to be an AI educational influencer for that niche would be a massive opportunity. And that's something that we're also seeing in real time spread across YouTube. Now, the third option, guys, is running ads, right? So let's say you had a restaurant as one of your clients or a clothing brand as one of your clients, and they wanted you to run ads. Well, having a bunch of different personas means that your ads can actually reach out to different demographics. So using this one workflow, I could produce a Mexican guy, an Asian guy, a white guy, a woman, anyone, essentially. And this allows us to reach out to all the demographics on behalf of our clients. Now, the way that I'm using it is inside of my AI service agency where we produce content on behalf of businesses, whether that's e-commerce brands, software companies, communities, basically any business on the internet. Right now, we're charging anywhere from $2,000 a month and up to produce content at scale. And now, as an actor, I can actually use my actual acting abilities to convert those videos into these AI influencers so they're a lot more consistent. One of the biggest bottlenecks, one of the biggest issues that we were having with AI influencers in the past was that they weren't able to maintain the hand movement that we wanted, the product that we had in their hands. And on top of that, converting the voice to the influencer's voice was quite a struggle, and it was something that we had to do manually. This automation does all of that in one go. And that's why I said in this title, it feels illegal, but since it's not, we should take full advantage of this until everyone else finds out about it. Now, if you guys are new to this channel, my name's Kev, and I build AI operating systems. And inside of AI operating systems are every single one of our AI agents. And in this way, it allows us to sell these type of workflows to non-technical people. Because this, what you're seeing on the screen right now, is just the back end of the actual workflow. But when we deliver this workflow to our clients, all they see is this form right here, where they just have to upload an image, a video, and in a couple of minutes, they get back their AI influencers. And it's really that simple. And in that way, non-technical people for the first time can access these very complicated workflows, creating a ton of value and therefore creating a lot of revenue for your AI agencies. All right, guys, so now the fun begins. I want you to grab whatever AI coding platform that you have, whether that's Cursor, Replit, Lovable, Bolt, it doesn't really matter. Just choose the one that you're comfortable with. On this channel, I love using Replit for these type of workflows because of how many integrations that they have. And so what we have to do first is build out that landing page. And so I'm just going to write up a quick sentence here that says create a simple one-page form that sends a photo and video to this n8n webhook. And that is all I want you to build out. And we're just going to go into the build mode and we're going to get going. After sending in that prompt, the agent is going to ask you for the actual n8n webhook URL. And so while the agent on Replit is going to continue to build out the website, we can now get started on n8n. So I'm just going to open up a new instance and we're just going to create a new workflow. And our first step here, we're going to click on this add first step and we're going to search for a webhook. We're going to select the first one right here. And all we have to do is switch this HTTP method from get to post. And then we can copy this URL webhook, head back to our agent and paste it in. And then I'm just going to say, this is the webhook you need. And I'm just going to send that in. We have our very basic front end form for our users and ourselves to send in the image and videos that we need to be sending in. So now I'm going to split up the screen into half size. And I'm going to open up the workflow on the right hand side. So now when we upload our image and videos, we need to make them what's called publicly accessible. And the way that we can do this is by storing the media in something called a bucket. And what a bucket allows us to do is convert these media files from our computer to the cloud. And when your media files are on the cloud, then your agents can access them. And so that's what my next prompt's going to be here. I'm going to snap my fingers and I'll read it out. When the user uploads the image and video, we need to make these media files publicly accessible URLs so that the agent can access them in the n8n workflow. Please build that out and make sure that the schema in the webhook sends the files as image data and video data so that we can differentiate the two. I'm just going to send that in. And so the reason why I love Replit for this type of workflow is that Replit has a built-in object storage, which allows us to bypass all of this headache, and the agent is just going to get this done for us. If we didn't have this on Replit, we would have had to add a database and a bunch of other steps that would have wasted a lot of time. So the agent just said the image data will be a publicly URL that's going to be sent through, and same with the video data. And so now the form is basically set up and ready to go. And so all we have to do now is test that to see if the information is being sent to this webhook, and then we'll just work on n8n. So I'm going to grab a screenshot of a video that I made and the video itself. And on the right hand side, I'm going to execute the workflow so that it's waiting for this data to be sent through, and I'm going to click upload files. And there we go. So workflow executed successfully, meaning that this webhook actually received the video and image that we were looking for. And so now I'm just going to go full screen into n8n and we're going to build out the rest of this workflow. And when you guys are working on your agents, to save you time, you can always pin the most recent node that has successful data. And so all you have to do there is right click and select pin. And so now the data that we just sent in is always going to be here. And another way that we can verify that the data was sent in correctly is just by opening it up. And so looking at the output of this data, we can see that we have the image URL and we have the video URL that are both set as publicly viewable addresses. And so that is absolutely perfect, and we can move on to the next step. So we're looking at the workflow. Our next step is to send the image to Nano Banana to switch it out with the influencer that we want. And so I'm just going to copy these three nodes and we'll bring them into our new workflow. And so now I'm just going to connect the webhook to this HTTP request, and I'm going to add another node that is called a merge node. So I'm going to add that node here. We're going to type it in, merge, and select, because the video that we're sending in, guys, doesn't need anything to be touched. So we're just going to send the video directly to input 2, and we're going to send the image directly to input 1. So this first API request uses this service called Foul.ai, and Foul.ai is the cheapest platform for us to access Nano Banana through the API. And so the endpoint that we need is this right here. And so if we search up Foul.ai on Google and we head into their Nano Banana image to image, and then we head over to the API section, this is going to break down the exact API request that we need. But I already set this up for you guys, so you're good to go. Now, if you're starting brand new, this is where you want to actually get your stuff set up and get your API keys and maybe even load up some credits, but it's not going to cost you too much. This entire automation will cost around $1 every single time that you run it. And so Nano Banana also came out with their Pro version, and in this workflow, we're going to be using the Pro version because the outputs are even better. So the endpoint that we're looking for is Nano Banana Pro Edit. So now this is where it gets kind of important in terms of how you're going to design your AI influencer. So if your AI influencer is a notable celebrity, then Nano Banana will know exactly what they look like. And so in this example, guys, we are creating Joe Rogan. And so in the prompt, I said, switch the avatar in the photo with Joe Rogan, the podcaster. But if I was using a non a non-notable person that the Nano Banana system won't know about, then I will just add another image URL. And so here I have the image URL that we submitted through the webhook, but we can also add another image URL that will say, switch this image with the character in this image, and then you'll get the exact output that you're looking for. And in a future video, I'll be making that update as well to show you guys how that side of things works. But in this example, we are using notable celebrities. So this name could be Joe Rogan, it could be LeBron James, it could be Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy, it could be any notable celebrity that the system will know about. And once we send in that request, guys, we're gonna be able to get back that edited image. And so that's what we're gonna work on right now. We're gonna go ahead and click execute step. Now this step says that it worked, and that's because the JSON image is actually already mapped in. And so that JSON image is coming from this image data. And so if I was doing this from scratch, I would get rid of this image URL because that's the one that I'll be giving you guys, and I would switch it out with the image that you guys are uploading through your webhook. And there we go. So now we've added in that image. Then the automation is going to wait for about 60 seconds for the system to actually produce the image. And then we're going to just request it back. And so in the request back, all we're going to do is map in the request ID. And so now to make this make more sense, we're just going to run the entire workflow. So I'm just going to click execute workflow. All right, there we go. So we got the output image, and so we can actually verify if the image came back in the way that we wanted it. So we're going to open up that output node. We're gonna go grab that output URL, and there's our guy Joe sipping on a Red Bull. All right, so it's all set up to move on to the next step. So all we have to do to move on to this next step is to map in this to the merge node, and now the merge node should have the video and the new image data. And so since the HTTP request for the Nano Banana workflow is good, we can pin all of those nodes, and we can run the merge node. Now that that's successfully ran, we can open it up and we can see that we have the new image from the Nano Banana workflow, and we have the original video that we submitted through the webhook. So now we can move on to the next step. Now, one step that we have to add is something called an aggregate step, so we can get all of the information that we need in the one node. And the information that we need is the new Nano Banana image with the old video that we sent through the webhook. And so I'm just going to type in aggregate, and I'm just going to drag in the fields that we need. So I'm going to add two fields. The first field that we need is the image URL that came from Nano Banana. So that's right there. And the second field is going to be the video data that we got from the webhook. And we're going to drag in that right there. And then we can execute the step, and there we go. So now we have the image URL and the video URL that are both publicly accessible and ready to be added to the next step. So guys, the next step is to actually extract the audio from the video because we want to do a voice to voice. And so this step uses something called replicate and uses this Luca Taco extract audio predictions. And so if I were to go into replicate and search up voice extract Luca Taco, we are using this tool right here, which costs literally less than a penny. And so for you guys to learn how this API works, you could just go into here, go into the API, and this will give you a full breakdown of exactly how this schema is actually called. And in our example, since we're using it on n8n, you want to use this HTTP example to actually show you exactly how the API call is made. And so all we really have to do to make this call work is send in the video that we sent in through the webhook. And so if we go back to n8n and I copy these three nodes, and I paste them into our new workflow here. Now that we've added the audio to video workflow, I'm just going to connect the aggregate step, and I'm going to open up that request. Now this request is waiting for a video file, and that video file comes from the aggregate step. So all we have to do is drag in that video data field to the video section on the form, and now it's going to use that video to extract the audio. So now that we know that these two next nodes are good, we can pin both of them up so that we don't have to use them again until the workflow is completely finished. Cool. So now that those are pinned up, we can now test out the rest of the workflow, and we're just going to click execute workflow. And so now that video file has been passed to that replicate API, and we just have to put it to sleep for a bit for it to extract that audio. And by the time that's done, we will then have a brand new audio file for us to move on to the voice to voice. But finished up, let's open it up and verify that it's all good. On the right-hand side, we can see that it has succeeded and that we got the output media file. So now let's open up that media file and let's just make sure that that is my audio. have proper body movement, proper lip movement, and proper facial expression. And there we go. So that is the audio file that we want. So now we can use that audio file, guys, to do an audio to audio or a voice change. And so the voice to voice workflow uses this thing called Chatterbox. And so if we go into fal.ai and we just type in Chatterbox, we're looking for the speech to speech section. So that's right here. And this is where it's going to break down exactly how you guys can do the speech to speech. Now, all you guys have to do for the speech to speech to work with any AI influencer that you want, even if it's a notable figure, is by getting a audio file of that influencer. And so what I did in advance is I grabbed a YouTube podcast from Joe Rogan and I extracted the audio into a Google Drive as a publicly accessible URL once again, because that is the audio file that we use as reference to change the voice into. And so if I go to my completed automation and I go into the voice to voice, we will see in the schema here that I have a static URL that is going to be there every single time. And that is the audio file of the Joe Rogan voice that I have. I'm going to play that for you for a sec.
The distractions are so many and they're so engrossing. You know, if you get out of high school, you don't know what to do.
And so that voice right there is what's going to be used to do the voice to voice. And so for any influencer that you have, you just have to do this exact same thing one time. And so now that my workflow is configured for Joe Rogan, I don't ever have to touch this workflow ever again. I could just duplicate it and then add another voice for another influencer and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to copy these 3 nodes. We're going to bring it back to our workflow here and I'm going to paste it in. And then I'm just going to connect the nodes to each other. And like we've been doing this entire workflow, since this audio from video extraction works, I'm going to pin up all of these nodes. And so now if we open up the voice to voice, the only field that you guys have to pass is the extracted audio from the last step. And so the source audio URL will come from the output here. And so if I was doing this from scratch, guys, I would get rid of the JSON output that I'm providing, and I would switch it out with the JSON output that your new workflow is creating. Now we're ready to do the voice to voice. So once again, we're just going to save the workflow and we're going to execute it. So the automation is finished up and all I need to do now is verify that the audio to audio worked properly. And we can do that by opening up this node, looking for that new URL. And I'm just going to copy that URL and we're going to open it up in a new browser.
Just to listen to body movement, proper lip movement, and proper facial expressions. And the 1.2.2 animates.
So that does sound exactly like Rogan. And so we know that that step is ready to go. And so now I can click out of this node. Once again, we're going to pin all 3 of them so that we can move on to the next step. So now we have the new voice, but the new voice needs to be merged with the video. And so if we go back to the original workflow and we have this merge new audio with video, we're going to open up this API call and we can see that this was on replicates and it uses Luca Taco again. So this Luca Taco API call is right here. So if we go into replicate and we go Luca Taco merge audio and video. And right here, this Luca Taco video audio merge, we want to select that. And this is where the API call breakdown is explained. But this one's actually very simple, guys. All we're doing is we're passing the video that we got in the webhook with this new audio that we got from the audio to audio, and we're going to put them together. And so I already have that configured for you guys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy these 3 nodes. We're going to head back to our workflow and we're going to paste them in. And we're just going to connect them to the workflow. Now, if we open up this original node API call and we scroll down, we could see that this JSON schema is asking for 2 fields. It's asking for the audio file, and that's going to come from our audio to audio. And it's asking for the video file, and that's going to come all the way back from our webhook, which is now sitting in the aggregate step. And so that looks good to go. I'm going to click out and I'm going to execute this workflow. After this one runs, it's going to be me with Joe Rogan's voice. All right, there we go. So now we just want to make sure that this output was correct. So here we go. It says it succeeded, and we just want to go and grab that output. And once again, we're just going to grab this output. We're going to open it up in a new tab, paste it in. And so what we're looking for here, guys, is me with Rogan's audio. So let's play it really quick.
Have proper body movement, proper lip movement, and proper facial expressions. And the 1.2.
All right, perfect. So that's working really, really nice. And so we can click out and we can pin all 3 of these nodes as well, and we can move on to the next step. So now that we have the new merged video with the new audio, and we have the image edit of Joe Rogan drinking the Red Bull, we can now send both of these files to 1.2 Animate as our last step. This is the API call for 1.2 Animate, and the reason why I have so many wait nodes is just so you guys can visualize and see how long it takes. It takes around, anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes to generate this 1.2 video, and that's depending on how long the video file that you're sending in is. Now, the API call itself is on fal.ai, and it's this endpoint right here, fal.ai/animate/replace, and you guys have that full breakdown. If you want, you can head into fal.ai and you can type in 1.2 replace, and this will break down the entire schema call that I have already configured for you guys in advance. But essentially what this step does is it grabs your video and it replaces it with the image that you gave it, and it keeps everything else the same. So I'm gonna go back to my workflow, and I'm gonna grab these nodes right here, and we're gonna head back into our workflow that we're working on, and I'm gonna paste them in. So now I'm just going to connect the 2, and we're going to open up the schema of this first 1.2 Animate call. So let's open it up, and we can see here that the call is asking for a video URL, an image URL, and as a bonus, I also changed the resolution from 480p to 720p. So it comes default at 480p, but when I tested it at 480p, the outputs were not really that good. So you do want to switch it to 720p, and we have that set up for you guys. And if you guys want to take it a step further, there's like video upscalers that can take it from 720p to like 4K. But that I'll save for you guys to do on your own because it's not really as important as the workflow itself. All I'm going to do now is just click execute workflow, and that should send the video and the audio to the workflow. And so now we can kind of go for a coffee, go for a run, get a lift in, because this part of the automation can take anywhere up to 20 minutes. So after about 10 to 15 minutes, we got the automation back with the end video. So now what we got to do, guys, is just make sure that this video is actually finished. So, and doing exactly what we want. So what this video should be is literally Joe Rogan in his voice in this setting. So I'm just going to copy this URL. I'm going to paste it into a new window, and let's see what we get. It has downloaded. Let's open that up.
Body movement, proper lip movement, and proper facial expressions, and the 1.2 Animate API.
So that's absolutely perfect. That worked absolutely perfectly. So there's only one step left for this entire workflow to be completed, and that is adding that final video to the operating system front end. And so all we have to do, guys, is open up a database table inside of the app that we're building so that we can store it in here. So I'm literally just going to snap my fingers, and I'll explain this prompt. All right, so I said, I want you to make a table in the database called finished videos. This table just needs 2 columns. It needs the ID of the row and the video URL that we're actually going to be submitting when the workflow is finished. And so we're just going to wait until that database is finished and built, and then I'm going to show you guys how we're going to add that video to the app. And so while that's happening on the left-hand side, though, all we have to do is add a Postgres SQL node. A Postgres SQL database is the database that we use for all of our apps, whether it's Supabase, whether it's Neon, whether it's a mobile app, web app, doesn't really matter. It's all the same thing. And we're just going to click insert row into a table. And while that's happening, since that previous step has worked, we're going to pin all of those nodes so that we don't have to do it again. All right, beautiful. So on the left-hand side, we can see that the database has now been created. And so if we open up that database, we now have the finished videos table. And so now, guys, is actually a really important part of the tutorial, even though it's the last step. I'm going to show you guys how to connect your database to your AI agent workflow. So in the Replit app or in Supabase or whatever, you have something called an ENV or your secrets. And this is where all of the API keys for your database will actually live. And we need to share these API keys with the Postgres SQL node that you're seeing right here. And so the way that that works, guys, is we're going to double click the database node, and we're going to connect with a credential. We're going to click on the drop down. We're going to create a new credential. And now we're just going to map in the values from the secrets to this node here. So the first node that it's looking for is the host. And so that is the PG host. We're going to go copy that value and paste it in. The next one is the database. So we're going to go grab the PG database and paste that in. The one after that is the user, and that is the PG user. I'm going to grab that and paste it in. So then PG password. And there we go. Then we're going to scroll down. We're going to click ignore SSL issues, and we're going to click save. Now we can see that we have successfully connected to the operating system database that has the front end of this workflow. So now we can click out and we can choose a table. And so the only table that we built so far is the finished videos. So we're going to select the finished videos, and there's only 2 columns. And so the first column ID we don't really need to use. The second one is the video URL. We're actually going to store the video URL that we have created. And so in the last step, that is where the video URL is going to live. And so if I were to expand this to make it a little bit more clear for you guys, you can see that we have the full video URL of the Joe Rogan AI influencer that we just created. I'm going to go grab that and I'm going to drag it into the video URL section. Now your automation is completely done and you have built an end-to-end AI agent workflow that can create any influencer that you can freaking think of. And so all I'm going to do, guys, to finish this off is to click execute workflow, and it has now stored that video inside of the database. And so now we're going to head back into our Replit app. I'm going to go into the database. I'm going to refresh this table, and we can see that we have that video being shown. And so now all we have to do to get this shown on the front end is tell the agent this next prompt. So I'm going to snap my fingers and I'll explain it. On the front end of the app, we want to map in the videos that were stored in the database to the front end of the app so that we can review the final videos that the actual workflow created. And we're going to send that in. And okay, so there we go. On the front end, we can see the finished videos section, and the video that we just created is now mapped into the front end. So that, guys, is by far the most powerful AI video agent workflow that I have created, because it allows us to use our acting abilities to create scenes of these AI influencers with their own voice that can literally sell anything, talk about anything, and you guys now have access to it. And you can use it in a bunch of different ways. And in this video, I showed you the 4 best ways that you can use this workflow to start generating money as soon as today. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one.